I see your name and I'm like, is this a Nigerian name? It kind of looks, in a way, I don't know. Maybe I'm not just good with identifying where names are from, but it looks Ghanaian in a way. I'm like, is this Ghanaian? But I just definitely know that it's an African name. Uh, uh, but yeah, but of course,
Nwokedi is a very prominent name in Igbo land in Onitsha.
right? Yeah,
Our town is called Alo. Have you heard of Alo in Onitsha area? Have you heard of
Aldo.
that town, Alo town?
No, no,
Alo, Alor.
no. I have not.
Yeah,
I've been to Onitsha maybe twice in my life, and then I was just passing through, not really kind of settled in. I mean, it's kind of that's in the east. I don't travel a lot, but yeah, it's great to connect with you, and thank you so much for talking to me today. Again, my name is Olua Sheon. You can call me Sheon, and right, and I'm the lead editor of Mariblock, right? An information company. What we're doing is building the information kind of hub, right, to support the development of blockchain on the continent. In our opinion, no technology gains critical adoption without an information, a source of information, right? And I mean, credible information, and that is what we're building at Mariblock. Interestingly, I found out about RedSwan being in Nigeria about last week, right? I was working on our weekly newsletter. I was editing it, right? It's written by one of our reporter, Ogechi, and I edit it before scheduling it for sent to be sent. And kind of our big news that week was a real estate project, Empower. They're using blockchain to raise fund to finance affordable housing projects in Africa. They ran a pilot in Mozambique, right? And I was trying to just see if I could find more substance for that newsletter, just for me to find RedSwan is open in Nigeria, which was mind blowing for me because I've been following RedSwan since about 2020 or thereabout. I mean, just since the early days of when security token was kind of the big narrative in the space, in the crypto space, which I've kind of been through like a number of narratives, and I think 2020 was supposed to be a year of security tokens. And we had Polymath very much appearing in the news a lot at the time, and I believe it's around the time that Overstock launched a security token exchange. I think it was called C0, right? And yeah, and so yeah, it's interesting. And at the time, learned that RedSwan, had tokenized about $2.2 billion in real estate. Yeah. And so it's just interesting to now find out that that same company is now operational in Nigeria. Like, yeah, we got to talk and learn about what you're doing.
well, awesome. I appreciate your investigating and your interest in the digital assets industry, especially with security tokens. We started this in 2018 because we saw the writing on the wall when the U.S. government mandated that security tokens could be a new vehicle for finance. Myself, I've been in commercial real estate, capital markets, advisory, and brokerage for the past 18 years with Cushman and Wakefield here in the United States. And my company back then, our division had done billions of dollars worth of projects in transactional projects. But I thought that blockchain was going to change the way we do business. And so I decided to just transition in 2018 to put 100% of my focus on building RedSwan. So today, we're proud to say that we've tokenized about $5.5 billion worth of real estate. We're really interested in Africa. We think that's an untapped market. And we think that the tokenization industry can start building wealth and adding value to people's lives. Because, one reason why I could not do business in Africa for many, many years, even though I had many opportunities, I do manage properties there because that's very easy business to take care of, is just collecting rent. and especially when you can collect 4 or 5 years in advance, it makes it pretty easy. But in terms of other businesses, it's difficult because there's lots of corruption, there's lots of things that interfere with your business. But blockchain now is on a whole different level that people can't grab to and cheat or disrupt. So I think it is the business that's going to change activity in Nigeria, and I think create wealth for individuals so that they don't have to, worry about currency devaluation in their savings accounts. They can actually start buying assets that are income producing in dollars and in yen and whatever currency based on the type of assets they buy, which will support their asset base and also support the income base no matter what's going on in the local economy.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting to learn, right? That you've been around since 2018. And I mean, the story we see online really, and I think the most recent number, which was obviously published about 2 years ago, was that you have tokenized about $2.2 billion. So it's interesting to learn that you tokenized about $5.5 billion, right? And before we talk about Africa, I just want to ask, how is that going, right? How have you managed to tokenize that amount of real estate? And also, are people actually investing in this tokens? Are they buying this tokenized real estate assets?
Yeah, people are buying assets. I mean, we've sold millions of dollars worth of digitized fractional shares of real estate. It took effort because there's a lot of adoption that's taking place, but very slowly. I think now we're seeing more rapid adoption amongst major institutions like JP Morgan, Hamilton Lane, KKR, you name it. They're all BlackRock. They're all now investing in the digital asset space because they see the efficiency of using digital assets versus non-digital assets, especially amongst the banking and the financial institutions. There's no more fees from middlemen that get involved when you're going through the blockchain. And so now when you start looking at real estate, which is the largest asset class in the world, it's a very interesting opportunity for individuals to be able to buy into fractional shares of high quality real estate. We don't bring small properties on our platform. The minimum equity raise is $10 million. So now individuals around the world get to invest in New York, Manhattan properties that they never could touch or be involved in before. So I think it's a major game changer.
All right, great. Yeah, I mean, and I think you mentioned that it has been kind of slow, right, to get people to get used to this new way of accumulating assets. And I think something that probably has helped you would be, I think one of the big narratives we're seeing this year is real-world asset tokenization, right? We've seen reports from Citibank to JP Morgan and all of that, saying that's kind of a potential kind of killer app for blockchain, right? And how much has that narrative helped you?
It's helped quite a bit. That was always the narrative we started with, even in 2018. It's just people were confused because it was so new. Many people confused it with cryptocurrency, and even today, people consider when they hear blockchain, they think cryptocurrency.
Right.
They don't think about the digital aspect, the digital asset side of it from a security aspect. But now I think the tides are turning, where it is led by the major institutions. They understand it very well. The banks understand it very well. They're now accepting stable coins, USDC, USDT, and they're now looking at how they can do business on the blockchain. So the mindset is changing. And I think that it's going to start from the top. And then all of a sudden, the retail side is going to be very interested in buying in because they don't want to miss out on what they see to be a game-changing transition.
Right. Thank you. And in terms of, kind of customer base, right? Just how big is your customer base right now? And if you could give me some numbers in terms of, I mean, it's okay, you say you've digitized about $5.5 billion worth of real estate. I'm pretty certain that you've not sold out, $5.5 billion worth of real estate. So if you could tell me, in terms of how much out of this has been, bought, and how many customers you have currently, both US, everywhere, or everywhere you have operation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't throw all our numbers out there in the public, but we have sold over $90 million worth of shares. It has been challenging on the retail side, and not from the demand, from our capabilities of being able to sell those shares. Here in the United States, the requirements are a lot more stringent regarding issuance of digital securities. We have to be licensed. We're licensed now with the SEC. It took us time to get licensed to be an RIA and a broker dealer. But now that that's done, now we have to hire more licensed personnel to be client facing, to be able to sell these securities. One thing unique about our platform is that you will see that we have many of our consumers on our platform. There's probably about 3,000 in Africa and about 7,000 in the other parts of the world, including the US. And they can express interest on the projects we have on our platform before we actually bring them live for sale. And so we've clocked over $500 million of bids on expression of interest from that marketplace of roughly 10,000 members. And so that tells us there's a lot of buying power on the individual side. We just need to have more licensed representatives who are actually closing them out and selling them. And that was always, the constraint for us. But now we're reaching out and doing a better job of having distribution channels around the world that can help us with broker dealers around the world and in the United States to help sell these shares. We think that will move billions of dollars worth of shares much faster for us than us trying to build it internally.
Right, great. And it's just the kind of offering, and it's interesting to learn that you're licensed by the United States SEC, right? As an IRA, that I believe that is investment. I'm trying to investment advice.
I'm sorry, RIA, registered investment advisor.
Sorry, RIA, yeah, registered investment advisor. Thank you. And as a broker dealer, right? But are you restricted in the kind of investors you can attend to? Are you restricted to, say, accredited investors?
Yes, we are. In the United States, we are. We're only able to sell to qualified registered investors who are accredited. Everyone has to do a KYC, which is Know Your Client, both for U.S. investors as well as foreign investors. But ironically, foreign investors do not have to be accredited. So we can take regular foreign investors that we've done a KYC on. As long as they pass the KYC test, they can buy assets, which I think makes the foreign markets much more lucrative than even the United States market.
Right, great, yeah, and that I think that would make us drive this conversation towards Africa and Nigeria, where you open. It's interesting to learn that you've been operational nearly 1.5 years in Nigeria. I found this LinkedIn post, which was posted about 5 months ago, about the 1-year anniversary of RedSwanCRE in Nigeria. And I was mind blown to learn that you've been around. I was like, how did I miss this? Am I just finding out 1 year later? Because I've been working in this space, and this is like what I do full time. But yeah, why Nigeria? Right? Is it just because you're Nigerian? You have that Nigerian background. You've been doing business in Nigeria.
Yeah, that was the first foreign market that we reached out to, is Nigeria. And I really think that Nigeria is a hub of Africa. So by us penetrating Nigeria, we can now reach out to all the major countries in Africa and do business. There's a lot of real estate in Africa that needs to be developed. You talk about affordable housing. We love to start financing affordable housing projects. But there's also existing projects that are not well utilized and also having a hard time with capitalization. So we think coming in and help recapitalizing some of these assets, the major assets in Nigeria, in Abuja, in Ghana, in Tanzania, in Kenya, makes a lot of sense for opening up the market so that the global market can actually have a very good purview of investment opportunities throughout Africa. Right now, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? And I looked through your website, the Nigerian website. I see you have like properties in Ikoyi, Lagos. I think mostly in Lagos, and they look like high-end properties. And just how is that going? Do you have people buying that up in Nigeria? How is the conversation going?
Yeah, so we are targeting the properties that we like in the country. We know we have the capital that we can possibly help these property owners with. And so we're actually asking our audience of investors how many of them would like to invest in these particular assets in Nigeria. So we can now accumulate a list of capital for each asset and then bring these opportunities to the owner. So we would know that we have $20 million or $30 million to put in a particular asset and now have a very meaningful conversation with that property owner.
Right. Okay. So at this so the financing, just to like understand this better, are you financing developments, property developments project, or already houses that are like, or properties that are already been built?
We're looking at projects. In Nigeria, you have to be very careful who we're dealing with. And so we're taking a very conservative approach. We're working with Ernst & Young, EY, to help us identify the developers in Nigeria that they have a relationship with, so that at least we have a common friend in the marketplace that and a common level of trust, rather than just go and talk to anybody in Nigeria. You can make mistakes that way. So we're going through our professional relationship with EY. They're identifying developers in certain projects. We have a due diligence team, which is part of EY, that will review those projects, understand how much capital is needed, and then we would consider investing in those projects. So we're very much looking for this. We're also looking for partners that we can work with who own land and have good quality land, and also a feasible project they can put on the land. And if they're going to put in some of the equity, maybe RedSwan would also put some equity in to help more growth of affordable housing in that country.
Right, great. And again, I like to ask questions just to clarify things, just to avoid confusion, and I hope that is okay with you. So you mentioned something that you buy properties, right? So does RedSwan buy these properties first before putting it? You invest in these properties first before turning them into tokenized assets? Is that how it works?
No, first of all, we don't buy properties. We invest in property. We invest in sponsors who have properties. So a sponsor, let's just say example, a sponsor has a $100 million property in Ikoyi, and it's an office building, and it's fully occupied. And they built this property 6-7 years ago, and they still have a good tenancy in that building right now. More than likely, that same owner has most of their cash in that property. Probably over 50 or 60% of the value is the owner's cash, because it's hard for them to pull their equity out, especially when they have a bank loan. Until they sell the asset, they can pull their equity out. We think that's a big misuse of capital, to have $60 million trapped in an asset for 7 to 10 years. That's a loss of opportunity costs. So by us recapitalizing that $60 million, maybe we pull out $40 million of equity from that asset and give it back to the sponsor, so they can now buy other assets in the marketplace or develop new projects. So we are recapitalization of existing properties, or providing capital to build a new property. So, but we don't buy and own properties and try to run properties. We are service providers for developers, for sponsors, and also for investors.
All right. Yeah.
We're a marketplace.
Right. That makes sense. But I want to believe you don't have that kind of restriction that you have in the US, of having to cater to only accredited investors. I'm not even sure that's a concept that exists in Nigeria anyway.
You're right. It doesn't. So, but we still do the KYC. No matter what the government laws are in each country, we're going to do KYC anyway, because we want to know who we're doing business with. So that's right. The first step before you can buy is do a KYC. But yes, you're absolutely right. There's no restriction for accredited investors in most of the countries around the world.
Right. And that makes me want to take this conversation to about regulation, right? Just interestingly, I think earlier this week, the SEC, mentioned that they are willing to license asset-backed tokens, right, and not cryptocurrency. I mean, maybe that's the kind of conversations they are willing to have right now. And I'm curious to know, have you started having conversations with the SEC yet?
No, we have not. Well, actually, I take that back. We have had some conversations with members of the SEC, and also the members of the Nigerian exchange. And this is just for disposition processes for them to be agents for us to help sell our capital through the broker-dealer network of that exists in Nigeria right now. So we've had those kind of conversations, and that's still in development. But I'm extremely excited for what the government has now pronounced out there, that they're going to support digital assets. As I said, I think it makes all the sense in the world, because it now allows people to have a seamless way to be able to buy into assets that are income producing, especially income producing in other types of currency, which I think is very important for Nigerian citizens.
All right. Yeah, great. Thanks for talking about that. And I think let's maybe direct this a little bit towards like adoption, right? How bullish are you about this? Asset tokenization, real world asset tokenization, of course, which real estate is one of them, in the future of Africa, right, and Nigeria, because we kind of work in an industry where that is driven by narrative, and there is a lot of hype, right? We've had like much more hype than actual utility, right? What is your view, right? What are the current challenges that needs to be overcome before we reach that, critical adoption?
Well, I think I'm very bullish on it. I think that it makes a lot of sense. Africans and Nigerians in particular are a large number in populace, and the income level overall is very low compared to the average income of other citizens around the world. And the only way they can move themselves out of a lower income bracket is to start taking discretionary income, as low as it might be, and start buying assets that are holding their value, right? Most people don't have a discretionary account to buy assets that are meaningful because they cost too much money. But now when you look at fractionalization, you can actually just take $2 or a 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira and start buying assets slowly that are actually paying you back a return and building value. That's how you lift people out of a poverty situation. And so I think that it's very, very important for the African populace to start investing and buying commercial real estate or asset-backed real estate that's paying them some type of return. So that's important. You said, what challenges do we see in terms of implementing this in Africa? I think it's just going to be continued awareness of what this actually is. I think Nigeria in particular has jumped on cryptocurrency very actively and have been one of the top producers of using cryptocurrency as a way of doing business out of necessity because of the challenges of the finance system in the country. I think they're going to see the same level of opportunity with digital securities once they understand how to use it. So I think right now, education is going to be very important so that people know exactly how to use the new tool for not just real estate, but for other types of assets, whether it be art or whether it be other collectibles or precious metals they might want to get involved with. But it allows them to build a portfolio of assets that they can now create value with down the road.
Right. And it's interesting that you mentioned this. One question that I would have is this. When you talk about Africa, you mentioned low discretionary income, right? That's a reality that makes a lot of companies come to Nigeria. And, you kind of have to tweak your model a little bit so that it fits into this market, right? And I look at your website and the properties you have there, the minimum investment for some of this $1,000. I see some with minimum investment of $100, right? Do you think you may have to go for lower kind of should I say ticket size properties just to do you feel like you may need to do that to gain that kind of adoption you would require in Nigeria?
Good question. We thought really seriously about the pricing, the minimum pricing for advertising opportunities in Nigeria and other emerging countries. And we put some at $1,000, some at $500, and some as low as $100. But we made the lowest denominator, which is $100, for our funds, so that a person who is not that savvy and doesn't have that much discretionary income can still buy into our digital asset fund for real estate, and they can buy a lower amount of shares, but that gives them the portfolio opportunity of buying into multiple projects that they probably wouldn't have the minimum amount to support. So we give that option to buy into the fund, which gives them still access to digital real estate assets. But we're really targeting investors who have the discretionary income right now to help us grow faster. And once we have that, now the secondary market could be a place where Nigerians who are registered can buy assets on a lower level, right? They can buy it for 10 naira or $10 or $20 because it's now on the secondary market. But in the primary issuance, we're hoping there's going to be more institutional or high net worth individuals buying it. And then when they start reselling it, it'll be an opportunity for people to buy smaller denominators.
Right. And it's interesting you mentioned, the secondary market, and that is where that was the next thing that I was about to ask, because I think one of the promises of asset tokenization is liquidity, right? It provides, especially real estate, and we know how the liquidity challenge in real estate is I think it's been over talked about. It's common for everyone who has reinvested in real estate. Do you have an operational exchange right now that that secondary market? How does it look like?
We're currently building our ATS, alternative trading system for the secondary market, and we should have something to be launched in the fourth quarter of this year. We're going through testing, plus we have to get our exchange approved by the SEC before we can use it. So that's the process we're going through, but I believe that once it's out and in the marketplace, now it truly gives RedSwan customers a full service capability. We can create the token that is in a token standard that's issued by the SEC of the United States. We can issue the tokens on our platform to foreign investors as well as US investors. We can manage the cap table of all the investors, so you can see what you own on our website and you can make your decisions off of that. And now with the ATS, be able to provide liquidity. But until we have that the ATS capability working, there's still, I would say here in the United States, 24 ATSs that exist today. You mentioned one, Overstock, has T0 as an exchange, but there are others.
Closing up.
So if they, pardon me?
They're shutting that down. I saw a news earlier this year that T0 is going to be shut down. Okay,
but there's still many other ATSs that are in the market that they can use. There's Templum, there's Securitized. So there's other ATSs they can go to, but I think that when we have ours up and running, we're going to be a little bit unique because our ecosystem is all about commercial real estate. So if you want to resell your real estate shares, you want to be in a platform that has more eyeballs interested in buying real estate. So other than T0 or Securitize or the other ones, they're kind of general focus like an Amazon. So you kind of put all types of things on there and you get the results you get. But I think if you're really trying to sell commercial real estate, you want to go where people are buying commercial real estate, and that's why we're going to have our own ATS.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting that you mentioned, this third party kind of ATS, right? And I feel like you've also been. You said earlier that you've been having conversation with NGX, that's the Nigeria Stock Exchange Limited, right? I do know, or we know that they're working on some sort of blockchain exchange. That news came out last year, right? We do not know what stage of development they are in right now, but I don't know if you've had conversations with them around that, and if this kind of real estate tokens that people can buy would be tradable on such exchange.
Oh, the hope is that these digital assets that we're creating around the world in the US, Africa, and also we're now moving into the UAE, we hope that that brokers around the world will want to start selling these assets because the attributes of the digital asset are far superior than the attributes they're currently selling, which are non-digital. So if you're a broker and you have clients, you're selling stocks or bonds or real estate to, and you tell them that this share you're buying is an alternative investment that has no liquidity until it's sold, which we don't know when that might be. It might be 5, 7, or 10 years down the road, versus the exact same product, exact same type of yield, has the ability to sell in 60 days. You can put on the market to sell. I will let the public make that decision, which one they would rather own. But I think that the digital is far superior, and all the brokerage are going to want to be able to sell this inventory. So the question becomes, where are they going to get their hands on it? And I think that we're one of the few companies that are producing that kind of inventory on the blockchain, so they have the ability to actually make money by selling it to their clients.
Right. And finally, let's talk about risk. Because as you were talking about brokerage, and I imagine like a time where you can trade real estate assets just the way you can trade stocks, right? Right now you are limited to do that kind of thing in real estate. You're limited to REITs, right? And but now this kind of is going to change the game, right? Open more kind of properties for trading, and some believe in Nigeria that the real estate market is bloated, right? It's it's over. I'm losing that word right now, but bloated, right? It's not what you would say it's worth, right? A lot of properties with low occupancy rates and all of that. Just how much do you think this kind of opening up of the market is going to affect property valuation?
Well, I think you're right that a lot of properties are currently overpriced because, one reason why they're overpriced because equity was very cheap. Financing was when interest rates were low. Then, of course, cap rates are also low, which means the pricing is going to be much higher. But now that interest rates are really rising up, you're starting to see pricing fall. Is a hard adjustment for sellers and owners to make, but they're realizing that no one's going to pay you a cap rate of 4% when their borrowing cost is at 9% or 10%. So, it's going to self-adjust. Otherwise, they'll be holding on to their assets for a long time. We as RedSwan and our affiliates have to resize the asset based on productivity. And so we're not going to, play a game about, the future benefit or future revenue generation of an asset. We're looking at where it is today in terms of how we price. And so if it's producing X amount of NOI, then we're going to price it based on that NOI, which may be a haircut for the owner, but it does allow the owner to have liquidity and put money back in their pocket.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. Pretty excited to see how this goes. Yeah, and I think this has been an interesting conversation. I'd like to keep in touch. Continually learn about what you're doing, new developments. Right. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to address. Maybe just something you'd expect that I would ask.
Well, I think that the current position from the government is a very strong one, and I'm wondering if you are aware of other people in the marketplace who are now using the blockchain to actually deliver. I'm hearing about stocks being delivered into the Nigerian market, but do you see any other assets that are being delivered to the Nigerian market on a fractional level that's working right now?
Fractional in Nigeria, no. Right. I think there has been attempts to fractionalize real estate assets, right? And it's interesting that you're asking me a question now. We kind of turned the table, but yeah. And as I mentioned in the newsletter that we published about 2 weeks ago, there was this company called Secure. Fiber is kind of a rent share company. They allow Nigerians basically to pay rent monthly, right? Which is not the common thing here, right? And so they launched a platform called Secure to allow retail investors invest in properties on the fractionalized level. I'm pretty sure it's no longer operational, right? I do not know what the difficulties were, right? But I want to believe that one of the things that will most likely change the game of fractionalization is the potential to have liquidity, because in that system, I don't think liquidity would have still been easy to get, right? And maybe also in terms of valuation, because I think what coming to kind of a marketplace, an exchange allows you to do is it allows for proper price discovery, right? Which is currently, I think, is missing in the current setup.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I've looked at buying properties in Nigeria for many years, and the quotes that I'm given on a parcel on a property that may be 70% vacant is ridiculous. I can buy something in New York for the same price point that I can actually prove the valuation for. But I think that's going to change, right? Because who knows how that owner was able to obtain that property and put it, if you put a property or you got a property for free or for very low cost or with other types of funds other than your own, then you can put a ridiculous price on it because you don't have anything to lose. But for the hardworking people that actually had to put their equity into their properties and is trying to make that property sustainable, they would like to have their equity pulled out to do it again. And so, when you look at the banking industry right now in Nigeria, the interest rates are extremely high, and the lending right now has been reduced, not just in Nigeria, but all around the world. I think this gap that we're going to fill with security tokens should help the banking industry so they can have a lower cost of lending, a lower LTV, loan to cost, or LTV, loan to value, for the projects they're looking at, which will help, I think, more development and more acquisitions take place in the country. So I think it's a benefit to have digital assets come in and be part of that capital stack that never existed before.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited to learn, see how this evolves. Right. I mean, on a personal level, I am bullish about blockchain to do quite a number of things. And as I mentioned earlier, the NGX is looking to launch a blockchain kind of exchange. I think for them, it's kind of to deepen at the time what the representative desk mentioned is to deepen the market, right? Attract new kind of capital. I mean, you have the younger generation who are like warming up to blockchain, cryptocurrency, and I think that's part of what they are looking at. And I think like the young population participation in the Nigerian market right now is really low, right? So they're looking to bring in new kind of asset capital into the market. So I'm excited to see how this goes, right? And yeah, please keep me in touch, keep us in touch, keep in touch with us, and would like to see learn about the new things you're doing.
Swan, thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate what you're doing. I think making awareness of new technologies using blockchain is very helpful. And I think the Nigerian marketplace is very young, also very entrepreneurial, and they will take advantage of this opportunity and grow with it. I'm very, very confident about that. Once you bring in a level of transparency and safety and security, that's something that they can work with, as opposed to things that are opaque and corrupt and problematic. But we're now bringing something transparent and very professional in terms of the construct. And I just know the energy of entrepreneurship in Nigeria is going to take hold of that and just scale very quickly. So we're excited about the market.
All right, Dan. Thank you so much for your time. Right. Thank you so much again. What's the best way to address you?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. Usually that's one thing that I take close attention to, or you can visit our website if you're interested in posting properties or want us to look at some of the properties in Africa. Please post your property on our website. Our team will then take a look at it and get back to you. But if anybody wants to talk to me, I think you can reach me at LinkedIn or my email address, which is ed@redswan.io.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you.